generation iPod Touch is just available now. You'll probably find it in a couple of Apple stores. Hopefully it'll start streaming into other stores soon. And it starts at $2.99. Gone is that magic, or what I would consider magic, $1.99 price point where you don't start to sweat a little when you're spending money on a portable media player, game thing, whatever you want to call it. But now you have 32 and 64 gig options. Only the 16 gig is gone. And given how big games are getting these days in movies, that's probably a logical thing. So $2.99 will get you a 32 gig model, and $3.99 will get you the 64 gig model. That's actually the same price as the iPhone 5 with subsidy, but you're saving a lot of money here because you don't have to get a cell phone contract with this. Obviously, this is a Wi-Fi only device. So what do you get for your money? You get a 4-inch Retina display. Again, you're talking the same stuff as the iPhone 5. It's 1136 pixels by 640 pixels. It is no wider than the last generation iPod Touch. That's because it has the same number of pixels across. That means it's equally as easy to hold in your hand without having to worry about it. Obviously, it's going to have to be taller here. Otherwise, certainly the spirit of the iPod lives on in design. We have the front face here in white, our little belly button. You're always going to have on iOS devices. Incredibly thin. It's 1/4 of an inch. And it's got that wraparound unibody aluminum casing that feels nice. It's sort of satiny in the hand. It's not just slippery. And here we have this interesting little thing poking out, and that is for the included wrist strap or lanyard. And you can push it in and spring-loaded, so it goes back in. So if you're not going to use it, it just stays flat, but obviously you're always going to see that little disc there. I know you guys probably will never use that lanyard, but I think Apple's trying to make it seem like it's a point-and-shoot camera maybe, or just to help you not lose it, because this thing is incredibly small, thin, and light. Speaking of light, it is 3.1 ounces. The back here, you see your 5-megapixel camera with LED flash, and this little black spot here, that's the antenna window for your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth to ensure that you get pretty decent reception. This does have dual-band Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN, and it has Bluetooth 4.0, and it's also got Nike support. Up top, there's your power button, just as you would expect. Nothing on that side. Here's our new lightning connector down here. The new 8-pin connector comes with the proper cable for that. 30-pin connector is gone. That means unless you get Apple's $29 adapter, this will not work with accessories that have a 30-pin dock connector. Headphone jack on the bottom. Little speaker holes there, and our volume controls. Certainly a nice looking product, and it's available in a selection of colors, so there's probably going to be something that floats your boat. You can pick blue, you can pick green. We've obviously got the pink one here. There's the product red one, white, black, yeah. And on the front here, you'll notice this little dot. We have a 1.2 megapixel FaceTime camera. You can shoot 720p video, pretty good quality, certainly a step up. And the rear camera, well, you know, a 5-megapixel autofocus camera, that's about so-so for a decent smartphone. But compared to the last generation iPod Touch with this less than a megapixel camera, you're just going to be in heaven with this camera. It's about on par with the iPhone 4, which is to say that's a pretty decent camera. You're not going to get the beautiful shots that you might from the iPhone 5 or even the 4S with the 8-megapixel camera, but this can shoot 1080p video out the rear. And as long as lighting is good, I found it takes pretty decent shots. One thing that you will notice if you're coming from the 4th generation iPod Touch is an increase in speed. Now, this guy has about the same brains as the iPhone 4S, so it's not as smart as the new iPhone 5, but still, the iPhone 4S marked that jump to a dual-core A5 CPU, considerably faster than the single-core A5 that was used in the iPod Touch or the iPhone 4. So if you've been feeling the pain when you've been trying to play games with this, which obviously is one of the primary uses of this product, you're going to notice a lot of improvement. And that's an 800 megahertz dual-core A5, by the way, with dual-core graphics. Now, right now, I'd say that every game I've thrown at it plays just fine. I don't feel like it's slow, laggy, or prone to crash. But I can tell you that I've owned iPod Touches in the past. Often I have an Android phone, and I use the iPod Touch for the games and all the neat iOS apps that are out there. And at first, it seems like a great thing, and then about 6 months or a year later, you know, because there's always some new, more powerful iPad or iPhone out there, developers keep making games more and more demanding, and the iPod Touch starts to feel kind of slow or laggy. But for right now, it's feeling just fine and just fast, but like I said, down the road, a year from now, you probably will notice that you don't have the fastest CPU that's available like you're getting in the iPhone 5. But that's always been the iPod Touch dilemma. It's always a generation behind in terms of the horsepower internals that you've got inside. Still, it's certainly a very smart and capable device. Again, I mean, the iPhone 4S itself is still a pretty zippy thing. And as you'd expect, the UI is very responsive here. And we'll play some games so you can see what that's like. Another new feature is Siri. This runs iOS 6 and it comes with Siri. Now if you have a 4th generation iPod Touch, you could upgrade to iOS 6, but you don't get Siri because Apple says it needs that dual core in there to actually power Siri. Now, one thing to remember with this compared to the iPhone is that, well, it's only Wi-Fi, right? There is no 3G or 4G here, so Siri requires a data connection. Anything that you say to it gets sent up to a server to actually be interpreted, and then it shoots the results back down. So this is only as useful with Siri as your closest Wi-Fi access point, or if you own a mobile hotspot and you're using that, that's great. But otherwise, it's Siri in all of its, generally speaking, glory. It's pretty good, it's pretty intelligent. It can find nearby movies, give you weather reports, find folks in your contacts, launch applications. It's quite a powerful and, generally speaking, accurate voice command system. What's Apple's stock price?
Apple closed at $628.10 today, down $12.81, or 2%.
Well, not a good day for Apple, but a good day for Siri there. That worked quite well. In terms of built-in applications, it's just what you would expect. You've got your PIM applications, you have your calendar, you have your photos, you have your camera app. Passbook, new for iOS 6, is on board here. You have your weather, we have maps, and that means Apple Maps, not Google Maps. You've heard all about that. You know what that is. Video player to play your locally stored videos. Of course, anything to sync with iTunes, and you can use iCloud with this and do iCloud syncing. Yeah, by the way, when you set up this guy, you no longer have to plug in the cable to your PC to actually set it up and activate it. You can do it all on device if you want and avoid the whole PC connection. That's useful for those of you who might be buying this for your kids and you really don't want them mucking around with your PC so much. We've got our iTunes app, we have our newsstand, notes, reminders, clock, stock app, Game Center, of course, the App Store, iTunes we've mentioned, settings, and messages, mail, email in other words, Safari web browser, and the music player. So that's what you get built in there. And then we've downloaded a whole bunch of games here we're going to demo for you, and iBooks. We're going to take a look at iBooks because some of you may want to use this as a portable ebook reader. And we're loading this book for the first time. And speeds are just fine. Really lovely display. Nice contrast, good brightness as well. Generally speaking, iPod Touches are a little bit dimmer than the iPhone, but in this case, I'd say you're getting about the same amount of brightness. Now, that may affect battery life a little bit. So far, we've found with video playback that it uses up battery more quickly if you've got the brightness set pretty high compared to the 4th generation iPod Touch. But if you're keeping it a brightness, say 50% or so, then I think you should expect, about 5 3/4 to 6 hours of video playback time at least, maybe a little bit more at 50%. If you're maxing out the brightness, you're looking more at 5.5 hours of video playback. Anyway, our book is looking great here. It's responsive, it works, very sharp, easy on the eyes, certainly nice as a pocket ebook reader. And here we've got the Safari web browser loaded on our website, Mobile Tech Review. Nice and fast as always. Good zooming speeds. Works just fine. And the SunSpider JavaScript test, it scored 1785, which puts it up there with today's faster smartphones. Still not as fast as the record-breaking iPhone 5 that scored 935, where lower numbers are better, but that is way beyond faster than anything else on the market at the moment. On Geekbench, in terms of speed, just for measuring your CPU and GPU, this scored a 670, which is about half of the iPhone 5 and on par with the iPhone 4S. Again, just as you would expect. Now to compare it to the iPhone 5, which I have in this hand here, you can see just about the same size footprint, where the difference is going to be in thickness. The iPhone is obviously thicker, closer to 1/3 of an inch rather than 1/4 of an inch. Both pretty skinny devices, though. And the different back treatment. As you can see, we've got the wraparound aluminum here in a color versus your choice of either black or white aluminum with white or plastic strips at the top and bottom. And now for maybe less expected comparison, but no doubt still relevant.